Very good evening to all of you. So friends, I welcome all of you in this today's session and let us have this recap. IATF first edition was issued on 1st October. That is the standard date basically. This is the standard date which is mentioned, but it was made available to public. I will say made available to public, or I will say it was made available on web, launched. So that was launched on 3rd October, right? It was published, like made available on 3rd October. The standard date which is mentioned is 1st October, right? Developed by International Automotive Task Force, right? And IATF member. Who all are the IATF member? BMW, Daimler, Chrysler, Ford, GM, PSA, Citroen, Renault, Volkswagen. These all are the members of IATF, right? And there is one more member. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There is one more member which is added, that is Jaguar. So I have not written that. So Jaguar is also added. It includes all the requirement of 9001. It has replaced the TS. And IATF is not the standalone standard. That means if you want to implement IATF, you have to implement the requirements of 9001 and you have to implement the requirement of customer specific requirements. So that is very, very to whom IATF will be applicable and to whom IATF will not be applicable. This I have told you that IATF will be applicable to automotive supply chain. Any company which is a part of automotive supply chain, IATF will be applicable to them. If IATF is applicable to traders, if IATF is applicable to service only, the answer is there has to be a manufacturing and there has to be a value addition. For example, suppose if you have a site in Pune, there's a manufacturing which is happening, and then you have in Chennai, you have design office. In Chennai, you have design office. In Pune, there's a manufacturing is happening. In Chennai, there's a design office. So if it is possible for design office to alone go for IATF certification without manufacturing site, no, it is not possible. Right? It is mandatory. If you go for the main site, you also need to go for the support location which are linked with that main site. Here the one word will come. What is that one word? That one word is called remote location, RL. So friends, RL. What is this remote location? So remote location are basically those sites or those functions which are basically supporting to the main location. So what are remote location? What do you mean by remote location? So remote location are those sites which are basically supporting to the main site. So for example, in this case, if you are going for IATF at the manufacturing site, Pune, and you have design office in Chennai, you have HR. Let's say you have HR office or you have a marketing office in Delhi, you have marketing office in New Delhi. In that case, this is called remote location. Design office is called remote location. HR office or marketing office in Delhi, it is called remote location. So remote location are those sites which are supporting to the main site. In that case, if you want to go for the audit of the manufacturing site for the IATF 16949, it is mandatory that you have to go for the audit of remote location also, and remote location alone cannot go for IATF certification. So if you have warehouse in set, let's say the Bangalore, and you are supplying this material is first going to warehouse in Bangalore, and that say it is going to TVS, in that case this warehouse also need to be audited. In that case, all the supporting location will be called remote location. Right? So this is very, very important. Okay. So IATF, when we talk about what is the registration process, so we have IATF and they have International Oversight Bureau office. Okay. They have made this IAOB are basically the offices, and they are at the different location. Where are they situated? US, UK, France, Germany, and Italy. So they have their office in multiple locations, US, UK, France, Germany, Italy. What exactly it does? Basically, this IAOB supervise the certification body work, certify the new certification body, maintain the database of the certification body, helps in the certification of the lead auditors, those employees, those members who are working in the certification body. So IAOB has a lot of work to do, and they have their offices in different countries: US, UK, France, Germany, Italy. So they have 5 main offices, and plus they have one administrative office, AO. AO stands for administrative office. Administrative office in Beijing. Administrative office in Beijing. Where is Beijing? Beijing in China. So in this case, IITF has contract with the certification body. So certification body work is to audit the organization and certify the organization system. Understand this, certification body work is to audit the organization and certify the organization quality management system. But as a witness audit or as a cross audit, sometime it may happen that directly IITF can also audit the the organization. In that case, that is basically an audit of whom? That is basically an audit of certification body, right? And if the certification body has done the wrong work or has not done the ethical work, the license of this certification body or this certification body can also be cancelled. The license of this certification body who are not doing the right work, who are not doing the ethical work, their license also may get cancelled. And it has happened in year March 2018. It has happened. The license of the one very big certification body was cancelled, and the name was Wincott certification body. So many Maruti in India, the Maruti vendors were certified to Wincott, and in that case, when the license was cancelled, IITF has given the organization 6 months to transition to a new certification body, and their whole business, that certification body, whole business of IITF was wiped out, not in one country, but in multiple countries. So this is also important. So always go with the good certification body. There are so many certification body. I will not name, but there are so many good certification body. You should go to those certification body, right? In IITF, I will see that mostly the certification bodies are good. Like it is not like 9001 where there are tons of certification body. There are very limited certification body, and they are very closely controlled by the IITF, right? That's the reason the respect of IITF is still there. The respect of IITF is still there, still maintained. What is the goal of IITF standard? Okay, what is the goal of IITF standard? So IITF is basically for continual improvement, right? That's a main thing. It emphasizes the defect prevention. The defects should be reduced. If there is a IITF in the organization, it is expected that you will have reduced defects. And IITF promote the culture of reduction of variation and waste in the supply chain, right? And the most important thing is this. Most important thing is that if you want to implement the IITF, you have to implement the customer specific requirements. So this is also a very, very important thing. If you want to implement the IITF, you have to implement the customer specific requirements. So whatever is your customer requirements, that also need to be incorporated within your IITF QMS system. Okay, so let's move forward. Relationship to ISO 9001. What is the relationship of IITF with 9001? So basically, there are some commonalities. There are some common things. For example, both of them have the 10 clause structure. Both of them are focusing on the externally provided process, product and services. So when we say externally provided product and services, don't fear this big word. There's a big word, right? So this word, big word means vendor, supplier only. So don't fear about this big word. Improved definition of interested parties. So we'll also understand these definitions during our period of, we can say when we'll be explaining the clauses. So we'll be covering those when these definitions, when we'll be covering the clauses. At that time, we'll be covering that. So there's an introduction of concept of risk analysis that I'll be covering in clause number 6.1. There's an improved definition of context organization. There's a concept of protecting organization knowledge. So that also we'll be studying in the clause. So these are some of the common things which are there in with respect to the ISO 9001:2015. Now, friends, let us try to understand what are the key changes in the IITF 16949. So I will go through these key changes, right? And I will not go in depth. Why I will not go in depth? Because irrespective, we'll be covering these requirements in depth when we will be studying the clauses. Okay, so when we'll go in depth, irrespective, we will be understanding these clause requirement in depth. That's the reason I will go a bit faster. So what are the key changes? Risk analysis has been included in the IATF. Right? That was a new requirement that was not there in the IATF. So for the first time, although the risk analysis concept was used, but that was only focused on the FMEA, failure mode effect analysis. By the way, FMEA is failure mode effect analysis, and it focuses on the product. It does not focus on the your quality system procedure. It focuses on the product. But now when we talk about risk analysis, it does not focus on the FMEA. It also focuses on the QMS process. It also focuses on the contingency. Contingency was also there in the previous chapter, but risk analysis for QMS is basically a new requirement. So this will be understanding in detail with case study in clause number 6.1. Corporate responsibility policies, whistleblowing are now required. What is the meaning of whistleblowing? Whistleblowing means if some wrong practice is happening, somebody should blow a whistle. Somebody should blow a whistle. What does it mean? Somebody should blow a whistle means somebody should inform. Suppose there is a wrong practice which is happening. Wrong practice means unethical practice. Suppose you are not booking the supplier rejection. So what will happen if you don't book the supplier rejection? If supplier rejection is not punched, and then there is some briberies involved, you understand? In that case, if the rejection is not punched, the supplier corrective action report will not be raised. Or similar thing, if it is happening with the customer, then there will be a failure of system. And that's the reason. There should be a policy wherein if these wrong practices are happening in some company, ITF is trying to plug that, there should be some procedure. So that is required. Whistleblower means the person who leak this information, okay, he should be protected. So that's the reason we say whistleblower policy. I will also share the example in the editable format, right? So that you can also see this whistleblower policy, and we'll be covering this requirement in depth in clause number 5. Manufacturing feasibility requirements are enhanced. Okay, it has been added, it was already there, but it has to include capacity planning, and the analysis is not required for any changes to product and process design. So when you are doing manufacturing feasibility, it could be for new product, it could be for existing product. You have to make sure that you have that capacity. Internal auditor. What does internal auditor means? The person who is doing audit within the company. What is second party auditor? If you are doing audit at the supplier end, that will be called second party auditor. Or if your customer is doing your audit, then also it will be called second party auditor. They are more clearly defined. It is very, very clear what are the requirements of internal auditor, what are the requirements of second party auditor. There is a multiple requirements related to standard, related to managing product with embedded software. So what is this embedded software? Embedded software is the software which is there within the product or along with the product. So this software does not mean the software which is used in your CNC, VMC machine. No, these software are not software which are used for making the product. This software is a software which is within the product. For example, there could be a software in the airbags. There could be a software in the airbag system. There could be software in the, for example, let's say when there is a at the night, automatically your luminous value, lux value, or of the headlight may get changed, right? And when there is a rain, automatically the wiper will start moving with the help of sensors and software. So these are talking about those embedded software. Mostly I have not seen any organization with this requirements with this software, but in your organization you can consult your design. If you have any software within your product, then also you will have, then only you will have this requirement applicable. Otherwise this requirement won't be applicable. I think why the IATF has included this, because with the coming up of this technology of driverless car, there will be more use of software which will be a part of product. There is an additional requirement related to organization supplier selection process. So the supplier selection process is also enhanced, right? So you should also make sure that the supplier selection process is strengthened, because if you choose the wrong supplier, that can create a trouble for you. So the supplier assessment process need to be strengthened. There are additional requirements for which there are some additional points which you need to verify when it comes to supplier selection. That requirement also will be studied. There's an additional requirement related to second party audit as a part of supplier management approach. So you also need to do the second party audit as well. There are some exceptions also. Statutory and regulatory conformance evidence requirement added for all material components for country of manufacture and destination. So whenever your designers are making the product, they should be aware that in which country this will be manufactured, what is the country in which the manufacturing is done, what are the legal requirement of that country, the destination where this product will be shipped, what is the legal requirement of that country. You do not want this situation to happen that you have shipped material to some country, or you have shipped material to some country, and because of some restriction of the, say, hazardous substance, your material is lying on the port, your material is lying on the you can say in their country, okay, in the export section, in their custom, and it is not getting cleared, because if the material you have to scrap or you have to bring back those material, that will be too costly to bring that. So you don't want this situation to happen. Your designers, at the time when they are making the product, they should be aware in which country they are supplying and possibly what are their customers, right? So significant expansion of the requirements related to identification and traceability. There is an additional requirement that all the products, there has to be a identification requirement, and traceability requirement is also made mandatory. Obviously, there are ways that how you will present this requirement. Requirements related to temporary change of process control has been defined. That is called alternate process control. So what do you mean by alternate process control? Alternate process control means in the process flow diagram, you have X process, and instead of that, suppose if you choose the Y process, you can do that, but then in that case, what is the additional control? What is the work instruction? What is the identification? For example, let's say you have this robotic welding arm. You have this robotic welding, and suppose your robotic welding is not working and you don't have any contingency, and you decided to go for the manual welding, let's say. In that case, if you go from change the X process to Y process, that is called temporary change of process. There are so many additional requirements that you need to make sure that the additional process which you are using, it does not have the impact on the product. So that is very, very important. There is an enhanced expectations related to TPM. So when we say TPM, it does not mean that Japanese TPM, right? That Jishu Hojan in 8-pillar TPM. No, it is not talking about that. When it says TPM, it means only maintenance. So don't mix this TPM with the 8-pillar TPM. Here TPM means maintenance. So there is an additional requirement in maintenance. We'll be studying that in clause number 8515, right? We'll be studying in that. There is additional requirement related to predictive maintenance, periodic overhaul, calculation of some MIS, management information system, some objectives like MTTR, MTBF. So all these requirements has been added. There is a several addition inputs to the management review meetings, which has to be conducted by the management. There are additional requirements with respect to internal and external issues, with respect to some data regarding cost of poor quality, some data regarding maintenance, or review of risk analysis, right? There are so many additional requirements which has been added in the management review. So management review is now made more stronger. There is an added requirement of a documented process pertaining to application of error proofing. Okay, not only this, but there are other additional procedures which has been included. There's a requirement of warranty process also. No trouble found. No trouble found means that you haven't found any issue, although you have received the warranty, but still you have to make the documentation and you have to identify that what's the reason, and you have to identify the whether your way of verification of that particular warranty, if that does that match with the customer way of testing, right? So we'll be studying this when we'll be coming to this clause. Okay, and not apart from this, there are two additional, I will say, the changes. One is before there were 8 clause, now there are 10 clause, right? Before there were 8 clause, now there are 10 clauses. That's also the one more requirement. And one more requirement is this. Before there were 7 mandatory documented process. Now there are 21 places where the documented process word, DP word, documented process word is written. There are like 21 places where the documented process DP word is written, right? This is also very important. And now the MR clause, management representative, is clause is silent. Now there is no more use of word MR. Instead of this word MR, there is a use of word called process owner. This use of word is called process owner. So even in, I have seen in some companies still they keep the MR, and it's totally okay if you keep the MR, but there is no mandatory requirement to give the letter to MR. So you can keep the MR, still you can keep the MR, but there is no mandatory requirement to issue the letter. That is the major change. Apart from this, there is one more requirement which is added, which I can say here, you can add here, is the context of the organization, right? So that is also a new requirement, context of the organization. What does it mean? You have to identify the issues within the organization. So it is very important. You need to identify issues. What are the issues? Like what are your strength? What are your weakness? Like, so you can deploy some methodology like SWOT, SWOT, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threat. Tomorrow we are going to study this. SWOT methodology can also be applied. Because if you identify the issues, if you know the weak area, you can focus on those areas, right? Like suppose if you know your weak area, you can focus on those weak area. You can make them strong. But if you don't know your weak area, if you don't work on your weak area, the weak area will remain weak and the real system implementation will not happen. So that is a mandatory requirement.